Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Money on Your Mind. It's me and Lou Man. This is Louie, our pet. And one of the questions was, what should we know before bringing on some cute family member to our family? Now, he's probably not going to stay here the whole time, so I might have to let him down, but he's doing a pretty good job just hanging with me today. So what should you consider? We've had Louie for about 5.5 months now. One of the things, and this isn't our first pet that we've owned several different animals before, all being dogs, but some of the things that you should consider before adding a furry friend or animal to your family is, how much is it going to cost? By cost, I mean, how much do you have to pay for the actual pet? Sometimes there are adoption fees or fees that you pay from a breeder, but those aren't the only costs. You're going to have to think about training. You're going to have to think about, what if you go on vacation? You might have to board this animal. What happens if this animal gets sick? What happens if this animal needs to be spayed or neutered? There are lots of other expenses that come with owning a furry friend and a furry leg addition to your family. I have many clients who don't have children and their furry friends are their children. And we have to think about, what is it that we need? Are we going to be able to be home with them all the time? Or are we going to need to find some boarding for them? A lot of times, I would say the biggest expenses come to those things that are unplanned. And a lot of things that I have seen, even just lately with some clients, are thinking about pet insurance. Look, insurance isn't always a fun topic. We don't love paying car insurance, homeowners insurance, but when we really need it, it's there to support us. And although insurance isn't ever there to cover the full cost of anything, it's there to minimize the entire liquidation. So for instance, I have had individuals who've had paid multiple thousands of dollars because their cat and or dog has swallowed something, has had required surgery. I would also say, from a health standpoint, there are things that happen to aging animals. I've had a friend of mine who had their dog that ended up gaining more weight than they thought and actually had to have three ACL surgeries. So can you imagine the amount of cost associated with each one of those procedures? And because we love our furry friends, of course, we want to do this. But if you want to think about it from a financially smart capacity, think about pet insurance, think about it early on. Don't wait until your dog gets sick. We usually think about insurance when it's the time we need to use it. That's not the time that's going to be applicable for you to use it. Likely you won't be able to qualify for it at that point in time. So think about it early on. If you are getting a puppy or newly adopting a animal, whether it be a puppy, a cat, whatever it might be, a furry friend in your family, you want to think about the total cost. So cost associated with adopting or taking on that pet, whether you're doing it from a breeder, pet insurance, boarding, housing, training, those other types of things. Monthly, hey, we live in a cold climate. Sometimes our dogs need extra clothing for the winter time, but food, treats, toys, those other types of things, you want to make sure that you're understanding what are those monthly costs that are going to be available to you. Also, be careful of some of those subscription models, unless you do have a breed, like a bully breed that goes through toys pretty quickly. You don't necessarily need to subscribe to those types of things, unless, of course, you can afford it. The other piece that I want to say is something that maybe isn't the loving part of everything that we think about when we think of a furry-legged friend, but especially for dogs who might be individuals who are more susceptible to biting, you want to revisit not only just pet insurance for their health, but also your liability policies within your homeowner's insurance. And some insurance won't necessarily cover some breeds. So you want to make sure that when you add this furry leg friend to your life, that you also visit your liability policy. If your dog were in your yard and someone came into your yard unannounced and your dog bit somebody or injured somebody or somebody's dog, or you were out for a walk or something like that, you want to make sure that you're covered and you don't end up having to pay that out of pocket, but rather could utilize some sort of umbrella policy, liability policy, things like that, that might cover your costs associated with those not so fun things that come with the potential of owning an animal. So although all of the other cuddly fun things are wonderful and we love having Louie as a part of our family, there are definitely things that we thought of before doing that. So again, think about how much it actually costs. Where is that cash flow going to come from? Is it coming from savings? How are you going to replace it? What is your day-to-day, month-to-month cash flow going to look like for payments of food and other things? Entertainment, boarding, if you're going to travel, training, all of these different things you want to consider before you actually make the commitment to adding that furry friend to your family. So as always, if you have a question that you would like me to answer on Money on Your Mind, submit it via our website, forethoughtplanning.com. Go to resources, Money on Your Mind, and submit your question there. Have a great one.